Hello guys and welcome back to a new video. Now in today's video I want to talk about something very interesting, right? I want to talk about something that is called a dopamine reallocation. You could call it a dopamine transfer, right? That's what I like to call it. Now this is quite interesting. I've been spending a few days and a few hours essentially just researching this and figuring out exactly how it works so that I can be able to talk about it. And I've been doing that for a few months, right? Now, just for simplicity's sake, to actually go ahead and explain this, if you're watching this video, you do know what dopamine is. If you don't know, search it up. It's very simple, right? When it comes to dopamine, it's not just as simple as just dopamine. There's something called a dopamine baseline, right? And what that dopamine baseline is I've kind of tried to draw it out here. Hopefully, you guys are able to see this. It's either you have a dopamine baseline of 100, which is very, very bad, or you're at a dopamine baseline of zero, right? If you have a dopamine baseline of zero, for simplicity's sake, that's like where you want to be ideally, right? That's where you find work enjoyable, you find spending time with family and friends enjoyable, you find doing focused, deep sessions of work enjoyable, you find reading books enjoyable, like the normal stuff, eating food enjoyable. That is where you should get your real, actual dopamine from, right? Now, most of you guys, and most maybe me as well, is a little bit higher on this point. I wouldn't say I'm at 100, but maybe a lot of you guys are at 100, right? What 100 is when your dopamine baseline is so bad that you literally are the furthest away from being able to set yourself up for success. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because it literally affects your life, your productivity, and your focus, right? It's one of those things where if you don't have that unlock, it's literally going to jeopardize the road to success for yourself. Now, let me give you an example, right? So I know you mentioned on the dopamine zero baseline, you have things like podcasts, exercise, no social media, you're working, spending time with family. That's when you're on a zero, right? 100 could be that you watch short form content. God forbid you watch pornography, you listen to music, you're talking to girls if you're a man, or even talking to boys if you're a female, and you just have general distractions, right? It's further away from success, right? So if we're gonna rank this up, let's say you had 30 from short form content, you had 20 from like the opposite gender, girl or boy, you had 20 from pornography, and you had another 30 from like other distractions, right? That leaves you at 100, right? And what that means is that your dopamine baseline level, it's so hard for you to do work and anything because this is where you get your stimuli from, right? You need to remember that your brain and our brain, it doesn't know the difference between good or bad dopamine. It just knows dopamine, right? And what's crazy is that short form content, like for example, spending time watching TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever it's called, it's a lot more rewarding in your brain than doing something productive, right? So let's say that chunk of scrolling a few hours every single day takes 30 of your dopaminergic like baseline levels in a day. Let's say you have 100 in a day, 30 of it a day is spent on short form content. If you exchange that with something like a cold shower, that's only going to be five in that dopaminergic level, right? It's only going to be five. It's a discrepancy of 25. However, short form content is a lot easier to do. It's a lot less time consuming, a lot less energy consuming, but you're getting a lot more dopamine baseline. It's getting a lot higher just because you're doing that. That's why it's super, super bad for you guys, right? So the thing is that whenever you try to lower this, whenever you're at 100 and you're doing all these bad habits and you try to lower it significantly, you get very sad, right? And again, just looping back to it, that is because your brain doesn't see the difference between good nor bad dopamine, right? And what we want to do in an ideal situation is to bring this baseline down to around 20, right? You can't have it on zero. It's literally impossible because you need to have some form of dopamine. Like even go to the gym is some form of dopamine, right? So you want to bring it to around 20. Sorry, guys. Now, the issue is that you guys have probably heard this as well, but you know, like the monk mode protocol, like 75 hard, new year, new me. The issue with these and why they don't work is because people don't really understand this, the neuroscience of the brain and how this actually works. What they do is that they try to cut out everything. Now, yes, you could have the discipline or you could fake it till you make it and you can do it for 75 days, but most of these guys, trust me, they're going right back into the same habits that they were in. It's not a lifestyle change, it's more of a temporary change, right? And that's not good. If you are actually serious about success and you want to do good in life and you want to be successful, you need to prime yourself for things that will change your lifestyle and your life for the next 10, 20, 30 decades ahead, right? Shouldn't be something that's just going to help you in the next 2 months. Like that doesn't make sense, right? Now, just to loop back to it, remember, guys, life, success, this stuff here, it isn't a race. It's you against you. This shit is a marathon, right? Let me ask you this. Would you rather do this for 1 month of a year, be fully focused and dialed in, and the 11 other months just completely slack off? Or would you spend time actually getting good at this, even if it took you 2 years or even 6 to 12 months, and actually change your life for the rest of it, right? You'd probably choose the rest of it, like 6 to 12 months. We've been feeding ourselves this thought process of that everything has to happen quick. You need to make 10K quick, you need to make 100K quick. No, things don't have to go quickly. Things take time, right? Triple T, things take time. Take your time with it, right? Even if it takes 6 to 12 months, but it literally is a thing that changes your life for the rest of it, it's so worth it, right? Now, what I wanted to do is, like, for example, that's what you've seen, like, New Year, New Me not working. People give up after the week. Have you not been into the gym the first week of January? Obviously, you guys probably weren't there just because it's the first week, but you've been there maybe from October, November. You see new faces the first week, and all of a sudden they're gone. And I can promise you, they didn't switch gym. They didn't do that. They just don't arrive anymore. They don't just come anymore. It's gone for them. That's the same reason. If they've been around that 100 and they're trying to cut everything out. They went to a zero and they exchanged that with Jim. Now they're at a 20. That's not enough. They're going to be super sad. It's going to be depressing. It's not going to work because, again, looping back to the brain doesn't know the difference between good nor bad, right? Now, if you remove too much, right? So let's say here we have 30 short form content, 20 girls, 20 porn, and 30 other distractions. You'll end up with a base. Let's say you remove, like, for example, short form content, girls, and porn, right? You'll end up with like 30 in baseline level. You went from 100 to 30. You dropped by 70 points, right? This will literally leave you in a rut, depressed. It's an issue, right? And to fix this, what we have to do is that we have to get rid of 10 to 15 to 20 max at one time. You got to do one by one. You got to figure out what these bad habits are and what you want to get rid of, and then you got to get rid of them one by one. That is why I'm saying this is a long-term thing. It is a marathon. Life is not a race. Expect that it's going to take 6 to 12 to maybe even 24 months, but it's going to change your life for the rest of it. That's why it's worth it. The transaction you're doing here is worth it, right? You need to remember that. That's why get rid of one habit and exchange it with something that is a lot better, right? You can't just remove it. Let's say it's short form content, even if it's gaming, you can't remove it and not exchange it with something. Remove short form content, change it with the gym, change it with exercising. Remove girls, change it with reading a book. Yes, it's going to be a lot harder to do it because the dopamine baseline level you're going to get from reading a book, other than just spending time texting back and forth with multiple girls, is a lot less. But you're exchanging, and that's why you can't do a lot at one time because your brain is not going to accept it. However, if you go from 100 to, let's say, you remove short form content and you exchange that with a gym, let's say the gym is 15, that's a net loss of minus 15 because 30 minus 15 is 15. So you had a net loss of 15. Instead of 100, you're now at 85. Right, but you've exchanged the short form content. It's going to be hard the first few weeks, but all of a sudden it gets used to it and you actually enjoy it a lot more. And then you can kick off the next one, right? So you kind of go here, you remove it, and then you go gym, right? And you keep doing that until after a few years, it can even take a few months, you'll literally change your life, right? You once you do this for like 6 to 12 months, you'll finally be able to change out from like the bad habits and into the good habits. You'll be able to actually find stuff that is like work and family and books. You actually find it enjoyable, the real stuff, nature, right? And the actual work is going to actually feel enjoyable for you, and it's actually going to lead to success in your life. And this kind of feels like a cheat code. Like once you know this and once you actually prime for this, it's like a cheat code. It's like you just discovered like a glitch in GTA. It's literally what it feels like, right? So the brain, remember, the brain wants to keep its baseline. It wants to keep it at 100 because that's what it used to. Again, looping back to it, it doesn't know the difference, right? Between good or bad. That is why it wants to keep it at that. It wants to keep it at the same one, right? And that's why you need to remove and exchange something that can reduce it but not too much. That is how you're going to prime yourself self for success with the dopamine transferring. And yeah, 100%. That's all for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys got some value of it. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.